Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. My name is Heather, and I am telling you about my story of living with two kids who killed or could potentially kill. My story is about my stepkids that have reactive attachment disorder. We call it RAD. To start off, I always like to tell everybody to be nice in the comments. Be nice to everybody you meet. I have had only one situation, so you guys have been great, and the support has been wonderful. So, as always, I do my makeup as I talk to you guys, just because I can't sit in front of the camera and just talk and not do something. Maybe because I'm ADHD, I don't know. So, where did we leave off? I can't even remember where we left off. But we are in the third house that we lived in. So a lot of the things that happened, and I want to remind everybody, I'm setting up the story, I guess you could say, because majority of the things, the big things that happened were in this house that I'm living in now. But there is things along the way that you can kind of see a pattern of things going on as we have the kids more. So children with reactive attachment disorder can and do honeymoon good behavior, and as far as I understand, they can do it from 6 months to a year. That is what the psychiatrist has told me, and that is what I've learned in school. They can do it for quite some time, and that is why I'm setting up the story, so you guys can kind of see that things were kind of, in my view, on the milder side. But to most people, it was not mild. And yes, I drink Pepsi for breakfast instead of coffee. So, in this house we are living in, at the time, I told you guys how everything was like set up. I guess the best way I could tell you guys how things were set up. But this is like where my stepdaughter's rages kind of started showing their face. She literally had, so I explained to you guys about the two different kinds of RAD, and she was the in your face aggressive one, where my stepson was kind of the behind your back. He would do things behind your back. A lot of his stuff was worse than her stuff was, but her stuff could be a lot scarier because it's right in your face all the time. And this began in that house. We started noticing a lot of aggression with her, which we've seen a little bit of the aggression as we were going along, but things started taking like a huge turn. When she would get angry, guys, she didn't get angry like other kids. So everybody's like, oh, kids get angry, oh, kids do this and that. So with RAD kids, you have normal behaviors and they're magnified by like 100. So, you know, if a kid escalates, it's like to here with RAD kids, it escalates off the charts. It's just, it's off the charts. I got some of this e.l.f. Fiber brow mascara stuffs, and I'm going to try it. So anyways, when she would get mad, guys, like you guys heard the story, a lot of people are calling it Bloody Girl for whatever reason, where she shoved her finger up her nose and made her nose bleed and painted her body. Yeah, that rage was always there to the day she was out of my house. But she did this thing on a constant where she would take her nails and she would just gouge them down her face. So bad. I literally thought that the marks she made on her arms and her face, I seriously thought they were going to scar and last forever because she did it so much, and she would do them deep. So she always had lines down her face, and almost like most of the pictures. And when she found, like in the beginning, of course, parents, we freak out and we're just like, we take care of the boo-boos and all that stuff. And one of the things I learned with going to the counselors and the psychiatrist is the less attention you give to it, it usually goes away. Not always, but so we started to, like, when she would do that and then she would come and want all this attention for it, I would just be like, oh, that's cool, and just walk away, which was very hard to do because as parents we want to help, but we had to think, oh, well, that's chunky. Ugh. But we had to think totally different. So rad kids have to be raised almost the complete opposite of how you raise your normal kids, which is like the hardest thing to do, or even to remember at times. Like, oh, can't do that, oh, can't do this. But we were getting the hang of it where we would just be like, oh, that's cool, you know, or just really pay zero attention to it. Like zero. Like, okay. Well, she stopped doing the face scratching thing because she wasn't getting attention. But she continued to scratch her arms up because she would get attention because, you know, the world always wants to give attention. She continued to do that on pretty big levels for quite some time. Another thing we dealt with all the time, and I've discussed this a little bit in the other videos, is my stepson always being so skinny. You know, everybody's like, with him eating that much, you know, I bet you he was really big kid. No, guys, he looked so skinny all the time. Like, bone skinny. Like, he came to us skinny, and he always looked skinny. No matter what he ate, he was always skinny. And we just couldn't figure it out. Like, what is going on? So, I started taking him to the doctor to find out what was going on with him because, you know, as any parent would be, you would be concerned that your child is just like really super skinny. And he always was. And so they were doing like all these blood tests, you know, checking his stools, seeing if he had worms, which somebody had asked me, I think it was on TikTok, they had asked me if he had ever had worms from, or if either kid had ever had worms from eating out of the trash. Actually, they did. My stepson had worms in his gums of his teeth, and he had them in his bowels as well. It wasn't the reason why he was so skinny, but it was something that he did have. After we found out that he had it, we were told, which this freaked me out, guys, we were told that it can pass to other people. So literally, we had to deworm all of the kids. All of us had to get dewormed, which is the most horrible word to use, dewormed. That's so gross. But we didn't even check the other ones. We just dewormed everybody. And that was the end of that. But that was one of the things everybody keeps asking because they ate out of the trash. Let's see here. Oh, so they were trying to figure out like what was going on. Why was he so skinny? They were doing all these tests and things and nothing came up. Like he wasn't malnutritioned, like that he was being starved. All of his vitamins and blood levels and everything was just perfect, which just made things worse. So they just would be like, you know, he just has a high metabolism, you know, like his metabolism's just really high. And, you know, and his dad is tall and skinny, guys. Like, he's really tall and skinny. Mom was always short and fat, or heavy set. Oh, I shouldn't say fat, but she was heavy set. I'm fat. Anyways, she was always pretty heavy set. She literally does like appetite suppressant strips, and she does like where she just will starve herself, and she does the stick your finger down your throat thing. I think it's bulimia, and she really struggled with that for some time and still struggles with that. But all the way through like middle school, high school. I seen pictures, that's the only reason why I know. But she was always on the heavy set side, so the doctor just kind of figured that they would be on the in-between. But dad's like 6'1", and not so much now, but he was really like skinny as a rail. So the stealing of the food, it continued. Actually, it continued to the day they got out of my house. But at this time, it was like everything was up for grabs with these kids. Like when they ate the dog food, him and her theory, because she was eating it too. They were both eating dog food. I can't even imagine eating dog food. It smells horrendous. But their theory was on the dog food bags, it has corn and real carrots. And they, you know, that was their excuse. Like I said, we had birds. And she didn't do this one, but he did. He was going through the trash. Like, for instance, we were giving them like, when we would make waffles, we would give them waffles, and when we made pancakes, we would give them that, you know, whatever, like, things that birds can have that's safe. And we were eating noodles or whatever, we would give them, well, whatever they didn't eat, they throw on the bottom of the cage. And when we clean the cages, we throw it into the trash. Well, my stepson would eat it out of the trash. Bird crap on it. He literally did not care. That just did not bother him one bit. We would explain to him. So it became a point where the trashes had to be locked up. Your trash. You know, like, everybody likes to say, like, you know, what they would do or what they would, you know. Honestly, when you have to lock up your trashes, there's issues, guys. Like, nobody wants to get in the trash. That's where trash goes. It's gross. But he did. He would eat out of that. And it was like an everyday thing. And then when he couldn't get into the trash, and he no longer could get into the food, even though he never stopped trying, and every chance that somebody wasn't watching, he did. I mean, you had to be so hyper vigilant in my house. One of my girlfriends came over. Her and her daughter and son stayed the night. She was my best friend, the one I told you guys about. And she had packed, I don't remember what happened, but I do believe like the kids did something good in school or something like that. I'm not really sure. But she had brought candy bars in her bag that were the kids', and my stepson and stepdaughter ate them. You know, and this was like a constant thing. Everything had to be watched all the time. Nobody could have anything in the house and enjoy anything in the house because they took everything. You know, my kids were very vengeful of them. Everybody asked me if my kids have damage from them, which we will get to. But yeah, they have a lot of damage from the things that they did. Like, people don't realize that their bad parenting doesn't just affect their household. It affects everybody who is around your kids. Like, discipline your kids, raise your kids, pay attention to your kids, and do what you're supposed to. Because it doesn't just affect your kids, it affects everybody. So, then when he couldn't get into all of that, he would amp up his game. He would eat weeds and dirt from the yard. All the time. I would be more worried about it than he would be worried about it, of course. But the doctors would just tell me, like, well, you know, you're going to have to let that one go because, you know, he's outside playing. You can't just watch. And so that was one I just kind of eat the damn dirt. You want to eat the dirt? Eat the damn dirt. But then when he found he wasn't getting attention for that one, that nobody gave a crap if he ate the dirt and the weeds outside. Hell, I didn't have to pull him out. He went to eating toothpaste, underarm deodorant, any shaving cream, anything he could get his hands on, he would eat. And he literally just did stuff to piss people off. Like, you know, you go in to use your deodorant, you know, you shouldn't have to lock up your deodorant. We're not talking about babies here, so you shouldn't have to lock up deodorant. But because of him, we had to lock up the deodorant, because you'd go in to get your deodorant and it would have bite marks out of it, or it would be completely, you know, gone. And when you would talk to him about it, he would laugh. He would think that was the funniest thing ever. Like, it got bad, guys. Like, it got bad that nothing in your house was trusted. He would steal things so much that simple things that everybody takes for granted, like, you know, putting Easter baskets out for your kids. He would get into the Easter baskets and eat all the candy. I couldn't hang stockings for my kids for Christmas because he would eat those. He would eat everything out of the stockings. She would eat everything out of the stockings. So things were just always being like amped up with them. Like, they just constantly wanted to just piss the entire world off. And I remember, like, a couple different times, but I'll just talk about what I remember. One time, the mom moved around a lot. She could never really keep a house. And she had moved out of town, which we were so freaking thankful for. Not gonna lie. She moved out of town, and she had just moved into this house, was so proud, set the kids' rooms up, you know, was just like, thought she had her shit together, filled the house with food and stuff. And the kids came and they ate everything. When they went to sleep, they got up and got into everything and ate it all at once. Another time when she was living with her mom, they would just get into everything and just eat everything. And me, because I was dealing with this so bad with them, and she didn't give a flying hoot about it because she thought it was funny because, you know, oh, you have the kids, therefore, you know, let's see if I can cause you constant fucking shit, which she did all the time. She thought it was funny when it happened to us, but when it happened to her, Lord have mercy. You know, she was one of those people that's like, let it happen to everybody else, but don't let it happen to me. It's funny when it happens to anybody but me. And so when it started happening to her, I was like, oh, honey, this is what you created, so enjoy it. She was always so big about being like, I want my kids. She would drag it through court constantly to get her kids back. But she wouldn't do the things that she needed to do to get the kids back. You know, like stable house, a job, just, you know, normal things that parents should have. She just wouldn't do it. And so everybody started talking, like, I guess the lawyers and stuff would talk behind all of our backs, which is nice to know. But they didn't think that she really wanted the kids at all. They felt like she was just dragging it through court just to cause shit and to, like, cost everybody money, including her own self, even though she barely ever could keep a lawyer because she couldn't ever keep a job. Actually, she got fired by like 3 lawyers. But they thought she was just doing it like dealing, like, you know, like, how do I explain this? Like, you know how the kids are like damaged and they do things to get attention? They kind of felt like she was doing it for attention as well. Like, I don't really want the kids, but I want to just cause hate and discontent because it can. And that is what she did constantly. She just could never get the kids back. And all along, all I'm thinking, I'm like constantly, this is going to sound so bad, but all I'm thinking constantly is, please get your shit together. Please get your shit together. Because, you know, these kids I don't want them here anymore. Like you need to come and get these kids. These are your heathens. I tried my part. There's no healing them. You know, and I was hanging out throughout a lot of this. I was hanging out with her sister. I think I forgot to mention that. So yeah, I was hanging out with her sister and stuff on and off. She's not as damaged as Biomom. Me and her actually got along pretty freaking good. You know, she was always really nice to my kids. She wasn't the best to her own kids. But she was actually really good to my kids. My kids really liked her. And, you know, she would tell us a lot of stuff that was going on, you know, with Biomom. And she would keep us in the loop because she would hear it from the family and stuff, of course. And the part that everybody was like, oh, she's just lying. But really, honestly, like, when things were, you know, like when I looked deeper into things that she was telling me, they always came out, for the most part, most of the stuff came out to be true. There wasn't really anything that she really ever, like, lied to me about pertaining to the things that she was telling us. Guys, I got this new e.l.f. concealer. It's a little whiter than I would like, but it works pretty good. It's a good dupe. So, let's see here. So, this is around the time that the excessive crying that I told you guys about with my stepson started happening. I'm not even sure what to call it, but he would literally just cry with no tears. He would just scream and scream and scream and scream, and none of it would ever make any sense of what he was screaming about. And it was usually when he didn't get his way. And he would just do it and do it. And he said one time that he would do it because his biomom would get sick of it and she would give him whatever it is that he wanted. Well, me, I'm a redhead and I am stubborn as they come. And I would tell him straight up, I'm not changing my mind. You can sit here and scream as long as you need to, because I'm not giving in, because I couldn't even imagine if I would have gave in, guys. Like, honestly, could you imagine if I gave in to either one of these kids on a lot of this stuff that they were wanting? Like, no way. No, it was not going to happen. But he did this until the day he moved out. And he liked to call himself evil. I'm evil, you know, and I don't need to change, and everything is fine with me, and it's everybody else is the problem. And that was kind of like his thing all the way through, was that he felt like everybody was going to give in because everybody was annoyed. And so I went and got one of those Amazon Alexas. Don't talk. I have one right here, and every time I say her name, she wants to talk. But I went and got one of those, and I put it on, my office used to be on the other side of his bedroom wall. And I just put it there, and I would turn it up, and I would have it play like calming music or nursery rhymes so that nobody else had to hear him. And he hated that. But honestly, some of the vulgar stuff that he would say, nobody needs to hear that stuff. But I ended up doing that when I moved into this house. Ended up buying one of those to play. So I know we left off last night with talking about him eating the bird eggs. We're gonna get into that. So if you guys remember how my house was set up, oh, I got a pokey in my eye. So the bird room was across the hall from my bedroom upstairs. It wasn't down where the kids were. It was upstairs. And at this time, I just had a Red Wing, a military macaw, an Amazon, and 2 African Greys. And before, the birds used to be in my kids' room, because like, not all of them, but like my daughter's bird used to be in her room, and she has the Amazon as hers. But when we moved to this house, all of them went into their own bird room. And so one night, I want to say, I don't know what got on my face right there. But I want to say it was my best friend that was there. And it was me and it was my husband. And all of the kids were put to bed. And we were going to watch this, I want to say it was the new Saw movie. But I'm not entirely sure if that's what it was. But anyways, we were going to watch a scary movie nonetheless. So all the kids are in bed. The motion detector thingy is on. And we turned all the lights off. And I'm sitting in a recliner. My husband's sitting in a recliner. My best friend, which I believe it was her that was there. Or maybe it was my niece. But she was sitting on the couch. And so I don't know how much you guys know about birds. But most birds, when you shut the light off, they go to bed. So everybody thinks birds are really loud and stuff, but they're really not. At least not in my house. When I shut the lights off, my birds go to bed. It's night time for them. Well, the lights were all off everywhere, and when we would put the birds to bed, which means we would put them all back in their cage, because during the day we let them out, and so they would play on their jungle gym in there and the bird tree and on top of their cages and stuff. At nighttime we put them in their cage, we shut the light off, we shut the door. So we knew that everything should be, you know, secure in the house. So we thought. But we heard the birds really flapping, which is what a lot of people call like a night fright. So sometimes a floofy. So a floofy is like the floofy feathers off of a bird. When it's floating in the sky and coming down on them, they freak out. A lot of them will freak out even with flies. So we started hearing them kind of flap. You know, they're flapping excessively. And I was like, oh, I don't even know what's going on. Well, I'm night blind, like really bad night blind. Like I could see the TV, but I couldn't see to like go walk anywhere. So my husband gets up and he goes to see what is wrong with the birds. And I hear, he flips the light on, of course, so he could see what he was doing. So let me explain how the room's set up first, because this is important to the story. So when you walk into the room, there's a closet to the left. And then our African Greys, because they were, so we rescued them from a breeding situation, okay? And we were trying to not make them into pets, but take them out of a breeding situation. And it takes a while to do that when they're so used to just breeding all the time. So they would drop eggs, and then we would put the box on, put the eggs into the box, and let them do their thing. This was the first time that things had happened. Well, we had candled the eggs, and if you don't know what that is, look it up on Google, but you can see if there's a baby or whatever inside the eggs. So we had candled the eggs already, excuse me, and knew that there was babies in there. And I had been counting the days, you know, since I seen the egg, you know, on the bottom of the cage, put it into the box, and then counted the days and knew that we only had like, at this point, like 2 days left, 3 days left until these birds were going to be born, be hatched. So there's a closet, and so because of the bird, you have to look it up on Google, but you put this big wooden box thingy on the side of the cage that the birds can go inside, like a nest, and do their thing, lay their eggs and stuff. So because that was so big, we had the box part into the closet. There was nothing in the closet, it was just empty and had no doors on it. So we put the box part into the closet, and then the cage was on the outside of the closet, and then we had different bird cages all the way around. When he went into the room, my phone's going off. When he went into the room, he noticed that it was Pete and Pepper, which is my 2 African Greys. He noticed that it was them that were flapping like crazy. So he goes over to the cage. No, like, where's the floofy? where's the distraction? Where's whatever? He goes over to the cage to find the distraction. And in the closet, next to the bird box, next to the baby box, the breeding box door was open, and my stepson was standing there with one of the eggs in his hand. So the bird had, I think it was 5 babies, 5 eggs. And there was only 3 eggs left. 3. He ate 2 of them. They were supposed to hatch in like 2 days, and he literally ate the baby and the egg. There wasn't even an eggshell left. He ate them. My husband was freaking pissed. And like, when I say pissed, he was pissed. Like, all I had heard was, as loud as ever, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like, loud. And so I get up and go running in there, and I'm just like mortified, like pissed and mortified combined. I was like, no, you freaking did not. Like, no, you did not literally eat the freaking bird eggs. Like, no, you did not. Guys, I was just so not okay. When my husband screamed, and I got up, about the time I got to the room, my stepson was hauling butt down to his room. Like, he knew that what he did was just not okay. So now we're trying to calm down these little birdies, my little friends. We're trying to calm them down. And I'm thinking in my head, you know, ignorant me, is like, these birds are going to be okay. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. There's some birds left. You're fine, you know. Well, we woke up the next day, and there was no birds left. So the mama bird, or maybe the daddy bird, I don't know, but they ate the rest of them, which is very common in the bird world, guys. If they find that there is danger or things like that, they will, you know, there's that saying, that animals eat their own. They do. They eat their own. And they did. And to this day, they have never had another set of eggs ever again. They've never did it again. They're just like, nope. Which we weren't wanting to breed anyways. But the fact of it is, it's like my birds didn't even feel safe with these kids. Nobody felt safe with these kids. Nothing was safe ever in the house. And, you know, we had discussed with my stepson, like, why would you do that? And he was just like, well, I just thought they were like eggs. I thought this is where eggs came from, you know, and this is how you got them. And we're talking here about like, you know, like 11, 12-year-old. I don't even know what age he was at that time, but we're talking an older kid that knows where freaking eggs come from. Like, man, they will make you think that they're an idiot to get out of anything, you know. Like, I talked with another girl on one of the comments on here, you know, and I told her, like, you know, they know right from wrong. They choose not to ever use it, you know, and it's like, if there is a path from here to here, A to B, and it's a simple little path, they will go like this to get to that path that everybody else would just go. They just don't, you know. And no matter, like we did, like I said before, we did EDMR with the kids, which is like a rewiring of the brain. I think it was EDMR. We did the one where it rewires the brain. We did them both, but the one I'm talking about is the one where it's supposed to like rewire their brain. The lady that did it, she legitly told me that the kids creeped her out. Like, I've never had like a doctor or anybody professional be so like blunt, but she was just like, okay, I'm going to tell you, like, we're going to have a talk. And this is after we had like, I don't know, 15, 20 30, I don't know, a lot of sessions. She was like, I just need to be blunt and I just need to talk to you about some stuff about like progress. And she goes, I've never been around kids that were so creepy before. She says they're creepy. She says, I mean that in the nicest way. She says, but you know, I had you guys start coming in to the sessions earlier than I normally would because they made me feel uneasy. Okay. They make you feel uneasy. Imagine living with them, you know? Then she said, we have did more sessions with them than we normally do, you know, or normally have to do, I guess is the word she said, normally have to do. And she says, and I'm sorry to tell you, like, because she's the one that did all of these different therapies, like EDMR and, you know, eye movement, different things. And she says, I'm sorry to tell you, but I don't think any of this is going to work. She says they haven't improved at all. Fair enough. We've seen other counselors that, you know, and I appreciate the fact when I would much rather somebody tell me that they can't do something than to keep doing it and taking my money. You see, now insurance doesn't pay for those things. I don't know if you knew that or not, but all this stuff came out of our pocket. All of these special therapies and things that we were taking them to came out of our pocket. So I would much rather somebody come to me and be like, I can't help them, than to keep doing it and taking my money with no progress. And it seemed we would get working on things for long periods of time, and then counselors would come and be like, I'm sorry, I'm not seeing any changes. When they come, all they want to talk about is everybody else's problems and everybody else, never their problems. I have to redirect them more than we even work on. They deflect more than most people do. Like most people, when you reroute them back to talk about what you're talking about, they will then talk about that, you know, and you may have to reroute them a few times to get them to go back to the subject at hand. Well, they said all of these people that would be working with them would tell us that all they did the whole entire time would be to be rerouting them, to not talk about everybody else, what everybody else, you know, Timmy down the street, he has a dog, and, you know, he doesn't walk the dog. I mean, nobody cares about what little Timmy down the street's doing. We care about, like, you getting help. And then like, conversation would end. They didn't want to discuss anything that they were doing. They wanted to discuss what the world was doing wrong, and always put blame upon everybody else. Always. I mean, the counselor would say, you know, I know everything that your kids do in the house, but not them. I know that, you know, you didn't change your socks on this day, you know, but we're not getting anywhere, and I don't feel like I'm the right match for your kids. I can appreciate that. I can appreciate a counselor giving up or knowing that something's not working, and that's what we went through a lot, was not getting anywhere, you know, not getting anywhere ever. And, you know, reaching out, everybody says, well, why didn't you reach out for help? We did so much that I just felt like nobody gave a crap about my family or what happened to us. I mean, let me give you a really good example. So I told you guys how they did my kids. Like, they were not good to my kids in any sense. And the dynamics in my house were horrible because these kids kept stealing from my kids, kept breaking their stuff. They just, would not stop. So I'm like, we have like a huge family problem going on. Like, nobody likes these kids now because they have did nothing but harm to everybody. So I decided to put the family, well, me, because dad wasn't going to be home enough to, you know, because he's gone every other week, so there was no sense in dad at the time. He was going to join every other week, was how he was going to do it when he was home from work. Oh my god, my nose itches so bad today. I think it's all the powder going up my nose. So we decided to do family counseling, guys. That was the biggest flipping joke in my life. So I make the appointment, and this is what I'm wanting out of it. I'm wanting everybody to be able to go in and talk about what is going on with my stepkids, and my stepkids be able to know that everybody is being affected by the things that they were doing. And then my stepkids to be like, I promise to work on this, and my kids, you know, I promise to give them, you know, the space to get better, whatever, you know, that's what I'm wanting. I guess I had high expectations. I don't know. So we go into this, this counseling meeting with this lady, and she's like, she asked me first why we're there. And I explained to her, like, this is what we're living with. This is what we're living through. And everybody was wanting to, I don't know, get some kind of resolution to things. And I explained that to her, like, we're wanting to be able to have like a moderator help put the family back together and have a safe place to be able to talk about things, about feelings and things. So she goes around the table and she's like, okay, I don't remember what the question was. Probably a good thing. But we go around the table and my kids are explaining to her that they are scared of my stepson. They talk about, you know, how he is stealing their things. All the things that are going on. My kids are sitting there, all of them. You know, even the little girl, that my stepdaughter, was even being like, you know, he makes me do this or he makes me do that. Which a lot of it, she's just as creative as he is. Don't let her fool you. So she gets to me and she asked me, like, what the family dynamics is and what is going on. And so I tell her, you know, the things that he is doing, the stealing, the excessive screaming, crying with no flipping tears, all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, she looks at my kids, my girls, and she says, you guys should be ashamed of yourself. It just feels like everybody's ganging up on him. And I'm looking over at my stepson as this whole thing is going on, as this woman is talking to my kids. At this point, I'm listening. And he's smiling. My stepson's smiling. Because when he did his part, after my girls all went, and she asked him, he said, and, you know, and nobody spoke when he spoke, which, you know, maybe that was the biggest part. But he was like, I feel like nobody likes me and that I try so hard and blah, blah. And I'm over there like, no, the hell you don't. What the frick are you talking about? But we're in counseling. You know, I'm thinking this lady, you know, we're going to get to that part or we're going to discuss or some shit. And then she starts chewing my kids out. And she gets about 2 seconds in. And I can feel myself. I can feel fire from the depths of my asshole coming out. I'm like, oh, no you did not. So I'm an Aries. And, yeah. I look at my kids and I'm like, my little mommy voice, I'm just like, okay guys, you all need to put your coats on right now. Put your coats on, put your hat, because it was winter time. I was like, put your coats on, put your hats on, and I need you guys to go into the waiting room. Like, my little fast voice, trying to be as mommy as I possibly can. And I'm like, and then when they're not when my kids are not moving fast enough, because I'm fired, you guys, I'm like pissed. They're not moving fast enough. I'm just like literally pushing them out the door. I'm like, open the door. I'm like, okay, mommy will be out in a minute. You guys just go out in the waiting room. And I'm just pushing them without their coats on. I'm like, get your coats on out there. Just go. So they get out in the, you know, when I know that they're out in the waiting room, I turn around and I'm like, who the fuck do you think you are? I'm like, lady, you will not ever talk to my kids that way. And how dare you like make them feel bad for something that he is doing to them. I'm like, I don't know where the hell you got your license from, but I can tell you now, you ain't gonna have it for long. And she's like, ma'am, can we come out? I'm like, no, we're not going nowhere to talk. Like, I had the door, I was standing in front of the door. Not that I even noticed that I was standing in front of the door, like I didn't have intentions on standing in front of the door, but I'm standing in front of the door where she can't leave. And she's literally has now asked me if she needs to call, god dang, my nose itches, if she needs to call security on me. And I'm like, yeah, you might want to do that. Because she's like, do I need to call security on her? I'm like, yeah, you probably need to do that. Because I'm like 2 seconds from beating your ass. I'm like, don't you ever freaking talk to my kids like that when they're opening up and trying to express to you how they are feeling from something somebody's doing to them. Are you freaking kidding me? We did not come here to be judged by you. You are a counselor. You are supposed to be biased. Like, you didn't even, like, you asked them all a simple question and then you jumped. You jumped. I kept telling that. You jumped to accusations. Like, how freaking dare you? Like, I'm mad, guys. Like, I was so mad that this woman thought that that was appropriate to even talk to somebody's kids like that in the first place. Well, then, so she goes to call security and I'm like, you need to call your boss down here. So the boss comes down and we are discussing what happened, and that her boss was just like, okay. And I'm like, no, it's not okay. And she's like, oh no, I don't mean that it's okay, you know. Well, needless to say, she doesn't work there anymore, and I don't know if she got fired because of us. I hope she did, but I don't know if she did. She pissed me the hell off. So family counseling and dealing with people, I felt like nobody cared about my kids' feelings or what they were going through. Everything was about, oh, these poor kids, their mom abused them. Oh, you know, I get it, guys. But let me tell you, feeling sorry for somebody has never helped anybody. You need to get to the nitty-gritty and you need to figure out, you know, other things other than feeling sorry for somebody, you know. Like, feeling sorry has never helped anybody. Like, I don't want people to have pity on me when I have an issue. I want them to help me with the solution. So, yeah. Family counseling was a joke. We ended up seeing the psychiatrist that they had been seeing. I let my kids go there, and then they expressed their feelings to her, and then things could be discussed with my stepkids there. But we did not go to like a family counselor ever again. I wrote down some things, as you guys know. I'm looking over here because I like to stay kind of on track. So when we lived in this last house that we were just talking about, that is where I began watching my kids like a hawk. I watched them. I made sure that as much as I could, I know everybody likes to judge and be like, why would you keep your kids in this? My camera does, I hate it. But anyways, I had no other option and nowhere for these kids to go. Mom couldn't get her shit together long enough. In my brain was like, putting them back in that situation is cruel and wrong. So I took it on. But this house is the one where I started to watch the kids like all the time. Like, I don't know. I just wouldn't leave them ever alone with them. And if I had to, like, I moved bedrooms. If you guys remember how the bedrooms were set before, I switched bedrooms around. I did just like whatever I could to protect my kids as much as I could. And it's just like, I didn't have cameras at this time, and I didn't have alarms on the door at this time. That came in this house. But it seems like every visit with Mom was just getting worse and worse and worse. Like when we first got them and they went on visits, the boy came back with a severe burn that was about this big on his arm that, you know, had the little bubble thing on it when a bad burn happens. And I had taken him to the doctor because it was infected, or it was starting to get infected. And the doctor asked him, you know, what happened. Because I initially asked and I got an answer, but I just felt like a lot of things needed to be discussed always with a doctor. Because they go to school and they know what is right and what is wrong and what is too much and what is not. Well, my stepson had explained to the doctor that he didn't want to take his shower. So his mom ripped him down from the chair and drug him out of the chair, down through the living room and stuff, into the bathroom, and burned him with her curling iron. I often wonder if half of the bull crap that they told me that happened on visits was even true at this point. I know that stuff happened to them when they were babies, for them to be damaged. But then as they got older, I wonder if things were still just as bad. Because they lied about me on a constant. Maybe they were lying about her too. You know, and oh my God, that's so sharp. I often, like, I don't know, not so much owe her an apology or whatever, but I often want to know if she felt the same way I did with these kids and their lying bullshit. I would like to know, like, if they were telling her that I made them lie, the same thing that they were telling me, or if the stuff that happened with them and her actually recording them and stuff was actually true. There's a lot of things we're going to get into, like bio mom trying to steal my baby or making plans to steal my baby. We have so much more to cover. There's just so much that this may take several videos to get it all out, but I do want to do it in order so you guys can see like what things built up to, how it was so easy for me to keep them, why I kept them. It's not like out the gate they walked in the door of my house when we got them and they stabbed my animals and hurt my kids. You have to understand that they can honeymoon for a long period, which they did. And a lot of the things didn't come out until later on. We spent majority of our life with my stepkids in this house. So my youngest daughter is 6. We lived here 2 years before that, 6, 7, 8. So we lived here 7, 8 years. So that is the majority of the abuse that we got was in this house. But setting it up, because I get so many people saying, well, why did you fight for them if you knew this? Or why didn't you protect your own kids? Or why didn't you do that? You have to understand that I walked into this thinking that all these kids needed was more love and attention, and I had plenty to give. You know, I love kids, and I spend, you know, I homeschool my kids. We do K-12, so we do public homeschool, but I homeschool my kids nonetheless, and we have for 10 years. And I spend 24/7 with my kids, and I enjoy that very much. So just know that I didn't walk into the situation knowing it was what it was going to be in this house back then. Please leave your questions. I like answering them, because I feel like everybody needs to know about reactive attachment disorder. For the simple fact is I didn't know what it was. And I didn't know it existed. I knew oppositional defiance disorder existed, but RAD is 1,000 times worse on the level of there's really no fixing kids with RAD. They can pretend to develop skills like normal kids, but they never truly have it. The best example that I always give my mom when she asks about things is reactive attachment is like Dexter. And if you've never watched Dexter, please go watch it on Netflix because it's a good show. But don't look at just the killing part of Dexter, but actually look at his personality, how he has to mimic other people because he doesn't know how to show empathy or sympathy. That's the main thing with Rad. They have no empathy, sympathy. He gets into relationships with a woman to perceive to the world that he is okay. Not because he wants that, not because he needs that. He has really no connection to the world. And he ends up only having a connection to his child. I don't think he ever did with his wife or any girls. He felt satisfaction sex-wise. And so that I think that's what drew him to anybody, would be that point of things, a release. But as for actual emotions, he didn't really have emotions. And that is what I lived with, is like two little Dexters running around my house that had no sympathy, no empathy. Now, as we continue to go along in my story and things progressively get worse, you will understand why a lot of people think I am vengeful. There's no vengeful about it. I stay quiet because when I tried to speak out, like the said counselor, we never got any help. We never got anybody to understand us. And the more we reached out, it was like, boy, you're telling us this and this all sounds like a book you read. Well, yeah, that was our life. And there's other people out there in the world who are living this life, you know, and they're quiet and they're scared and they're not really sure what to do. You're seeing some of them talk on my TikTok. You're seeing some of them talk here on YouTube. They don't know what to do because there is no help. My number one advice to everybody is always call the cops. Documentation is your friend. That is something I wish I knew from the beginning, but that is something I learned along the way, is every single incident, call the cops. They will either get sick and tired of hearing from you, or they will see that there is a severe issue going on and they will have people step in to help you. As much as you can, keep CPS out of your life, because that's my opinion, because they didn't help me at all. In fact, they wanted us, not me because I have no legal rights, but they wanted one of us, me or my husband, to take a neglect or abuse charge so they could put a CHINS, which is a child in need of services, on these kids to help us. And I remember the sheriff telling CPS, no, you do realize that Heather has went to college all of this time, and no, she is not going to I'm not going to put a charge on her, because a cop would have to put the charge on me. And he was like, I'm not going to put a charge on her to get him help figure it out some other way. Which they never did. I mean, they would come and do their fake little visit and stuff to see how things were doing. And I could literally be like, he's stabbing me in the neck every single day. And they'd be like, good, good, good. That's good. You know, they just didn't help me. Get a psychiatrist, get a counselor, and make sure, and I need to tell you, there's books and stuff that I'm going to give you guys eventually, or tell you guys about. But, make sure that you follow things in the book. One of the things the book says, never let a child with reactive attachment disorder see a counselor or a psychiatrist by themselves. They need to have one of the parents in there at all times, because they will go in there and they will deflect. They will go in there and do false allegations, and there needs to be somebody, grandma, grandpa, somebody, uncle, aunt, somebody who knows the situation, that's in there saying no, and then putting it, the deflection, throwing it away and putting it back on them to deal with their things. Somebody that's there saying, nope, this and this happened, and always calling them on their shit. The biggest thing is rads need to be called on their shit. With our kids, we like to tiptoe around things that go on, or we smooth things out. Rad kids have to hear it blunt, and it needs to be very matter-of-factly. You stole, you're grounded, go to your room. There's no negotiation. We do not negotiate with terrorists. Just remember that saying. If you remember anything from me, just remember to always say, we do not negotiate with terrorists. Terrorists are toddlers. That's a joke. Nobody come at me. But it's people that are terrorizing you. We don't negotiate with them. State what it is they did. State what the punishment is into this discussion. After the punishment, after everything is cooled off and cooled down and there's no like anger involved, then you can discuss things. I teach parenting classes now. I teach love and logic parenting classes. And I worked for like 7 years as a behavioral specialist with my job. So yeah, I can tell you some things about living with rads. Just hang in there with me. I'm getting to my story. I'm going to get everything out. I am happy to answer any questions you have. If you need my help, feel free to write me or whatever. My TikTok email does not work because it won't let me link my phone. So it's whatever. You'll have to contact me on here. But for now, you guys have a good day. I will be back tomorrow again. I'm sorry I do these in the morning, but it takes half of a day to download them. So just be patient with me. They're coming. For anyways, be nice in the comments. Be nice to everybody. Put more out in the world than you take. And have a great day, guys. Bye now.